Now the state all the way to the Mississippi River?
No.
Does anybody know the term speculator? What is a speculator? You got an idea?
Like a magnifying glass, maybe?
Well, no, not really.
Huh.
Who else has got an
What's in
idea?
my thought?
Well, I see somebody's got a camera. Most museums don't allow you to take pictures. You take pictures in there. If you got a flash, that's okay too. But you would say when we get through and then you photograph it. Yes. A speculator is basically a person who buys something or gets something at a low price, he holds it, goes up in value, and he sells it. So he counts on it, up in value. Now, at the end of the Revolutionary War, North Carolina owned this. North Carolina cannot afford, they're broke basically, they cannot afford to send troops over here for pacify the Indians. So, we basically going to let you find it on your own. The U.S. government didn't want it because they're tied up with the Northwest Territory problem. One thing they did, North Carolina, now, not everybody wanted that land. Therefore, your speculators would buy it almost for nothing. It is on the dollar. As that happened, some of them did not want to work in this territory. Some of them didn't want to come. They had nice homes in the Carolinas, basically North Carolina. So they stayed. Here, you sit on. Yeah, you can sit on the bench here if you like.
Oh, no.
Now,
Oh, there's a bench?
So they'll fall away and hurt you with the bench.
Or you're fine.
Now, Blunt came in and he was functioning all these things, wearing his hat, protection and all. And he signed the peace treaty with the Cherokee and Maine, the Cherokee up here, the peace treaty of the coast. And that brought a little bit of peace to the Knoxville area. It did not establish peace in the whole state, mainly Knoxville. Okay, so that starts growing, and at that time, people start moving in. A lot of these people don't want that territory, and they sell it to the speculators, including Blunt. Blunt ended up with 1 million acres going all the way to the Tennessee border, which is the Mississippi River. Now, some other people you might not have heard of as speculators too. Andrew Jackson. Anybody know who Andrew Jackson was?
He was a president.
He became president later on, but at this time. Now, these people were coming in here, the territory starts coming in, and Blunt needs to set a capital there. Originally, he was going to set it up here where the Holston and the French Broad River runs together, but he saw James White. Hey, I believe I'll do it in Knoxville. So he did. Keep in mind that there were only a few log cabins in Knoxville at that time. They had dirt floors, they had shutters for windows, no window glass. He comes in, and he gets here, and he sets it up. Now, in November 1795, a lot of people had moved into their territory, and they won't stay to it. Why they won't stay to it? Remember I said protection? They basically put they wanted federal troops, which they didn't get. But anyway, in November of 1795, Blunt calls for a constitutional convention to establish a state constitution. And those people showed up.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
She needs to step outside of her phone, that's all
Okay.
right. Basically put, in 1795, he invited 55 representatives from 11 counties. Why just 11 counties? We got 70, 80 counties now. Why 11 counties? Anybody got an idea? Why did Blunt just ask for 11 counties?
Because he didn't want to allow.
Basically put that's all the counties we had at that time because the counties were physically much larger. For instance, Knox County and Blunt County was all one county. So they were right. See, it was all one county at that time. So there were only 11 counties. Each one of them sent 5 representatives. Those 5 representatives were people you would recognize. For instance, Andrew Jackson I mentioned, came from Davidson County. He's one of them that was a representative. David Crockett, Sam Houston, Blunt. Look on that copy of the U.S. Constitution there. The U.S. Look about halfway down, or where the signatures are down low.
Right there?
You see anybody?
Signatures of the Constitution?
No, that's signers of the U.S. Constitution. But do you see William Blunt where he signed in big bold letters on the U.S. Constitution? He signed that as a member of the North Carolina delegation. But he signed the U.S. Constitution, he signed the Tennessee State Constitution. One of the few people that signed two important documents. This convention took place starting January of 1796. It's cold, it's sort of raining and miserable. He's got 55 people we got to feed, take care of, handle. Now, could we put 55 people in this little building?
No.
Them sort of crowded, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Governor, he had a friend up here who also was an attorney. The attorney was David Henley. Henley Street Bridge, Henley Street named after it. But he was an attorney function up here. So we think basically put 22 people rotated in on committees. You got to have committees to do work. So they rotated in and out, working on the Constitution. They worked from January through February the 6th. February the 6th, they said, hey, we've got the document we needed. That document was signed on this desk. This is not a reproduction. It's the original desk it was signed on. Does it look, is this kind of desk you got at home, does it look weird?
Yeah.
What's weird about it?
That looks like a piano.
Huh?
That looks like a piano.
There ain't no piano in there.
It looks like it.
Oh, it looks like it.
Like,
Well, I'll tell you why it's like that. Most of these men were not as tall as we are today. George Washington was tall. We think William Blunt was tall. But a lot of them were 5'7", 5'8". You're fairly short. If you stood, where do you work at home when you go to your homework? You sit on the floor, you work at the table, you work on the bed, you go to the kitchen table, you got a desk. All right. These people didn't do that. And they did not. They worked in the daytime. We didn't have any electric lights, so most of the work was done in the daytime. And it was also work standing up. They did not sit down to work. They stood. Come up here and show me something. Let me show you. If I had this desk up and it was built like this, would you have trouble working at it? So that's why it's slanted. They could stand here and work and put their papers and all they do. Now, those 55 delegates signed that document. It became the state constitution. And it was done. Did they have pens at that time, or ballpark pens? No ballpark pens. It was done with a quill. What is a quill made from?
Burns.
Out of what bird? You go out and yank this fellow out of an old goose, didn't you? Split it a little bit. Would you think it would be difficult to write with a quill pen?
yeah.
Yeah.
Did they take that document? Now keep in mind, this 11 counties represented, so we know they got to have at least 12 copies. Did they go down to the copy store and get them made copies?
No, they don't have one.
They didn't have no copying machines. They had to do it with a quill pen. You see that document over there? Look how fine that is. And if you look at all of them, out of the copies that were made, they all look pretty well the same. And yet they may not be the same copy. Same thing with the state constitution. They did have a copy up here, but it got distorted when they were moving stuff out for this renovation. If you get the opportunity, look at the state constitution, see how it starts. We the people. Why do you think it sort of follows that format? The same people that did this one worked on the state, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and all. The same people that did that. They were the shakers. So it worked on it. Now, Tennessee became what? What was the state that it became? What was the number of the state? 16. 16. So on June the 1st, of 1796, Congress finally relented, and they said, hey, we'll take you or out of the state of Tennessee. At that time, this flag is representative. It's not original. Most of the other stuff in here is original, but this flag is a representative flag. How many stars and bars do you think would be on it if we became the 16th state? Oh, that's a trick question. There was 15. 15 of each color and 15 stars. How many stars do we have now on our flag? 50 stars, you're right.
Oh,
But could we have put 50 bars on it?
No.
You're too big,
It'd
wouldn't
be
it?
like down to here.
Yeah. So we changed, but now wait a minute. I told you we had 15 states. Why come we only got 13 of each color over there now?
Certain colors.
That's basically it. After we got up to about 24 states, somebody decided that, hey, this is getting unwieldy. We're going to go back to 13. For some reason or other, they didn't count Kentucky and Vermont as being 14, 15 states. They went back to the original 13 colonies. So today, we have 13 of each color on the bars, and we have 1 star for each state. So that's why it's done that. And that is representative, not real. Most of the other artifacts in here. Remember I told you that Blunt came from North Carolina. His family were well off financially. They owned ocean-going ships. We think they even traded with China at that time, which would mean they would have had China that the local colonists did not have. The local colonists would have been drinking water out of an open bucket that was made here with a gourd. Anybody ever seen a gourd used for a dipper?
Oh.
Yeah, it's sort of how it works. But keep in mind that these people were well off. Now, Miss Blunt told old William, I'm not going to Tennessee unless you build me a nice house. I'm not going to live in no thing out there that's only got dirt floors. So they built the house, and they were built by their servants. They were not outside craftsmen, his servants. Pretty solid, isn't it? 200 years old, the building's still there. The building up there. And so we'll rush up. We don't have that much time. But anyway, the windows come by horseback from Richmond, Virginia. The timber come down the river out here on flat boats, and was built. All this stuff at the same time. You wouldn't have had all these bricks out here, although the bricks were for the fireplaces were built on the place. Now, some of the artifacts that you see in here, like the travel case over there, the average colonist would not have owned something like that. Remember I told you that people were well off? Take a good look at this little glass or counter here and tell me what you see on it. What do you see on it? What do you see?
I see like.
This.
I see.
Well, yeah, it ain't been washed in 100 years,
No, I
probably.
see.
But it's got gold leaf on it. The average colonist that had that, he was drinking out of a gourd in a wooden bucket. And it was then transported in a travelette. What do you think this functioned for? How about an early briefcase? I write my papers and stuff, and I put them in that, put it on horseback or whatever. Keep in mind, no mail service, or somebody had to physically take documents, letters, someplace else. It was in a horseback, mule and wagon, horse, oxen. Now, what we got? How about a steer horn? And it was a gunpowder. What's the story? You ever heard the expression, keep your powder dry? Someplace in your history book, you will see that term. Now, why was that important? Because you had to keep it dry for your single-shot musket to fire. Keep your powder dry. I wish we had more time. A lot of important stuff in here. Glasses, trying to write things like that. One thing I'd like for you to do when you get back and look at a copy of the state constitution, look and see who signed it. You're going to see that Andrew Jackson and those type people. See how many world famous people you can see that did that. All right, glad you came by.
Thank you.
Come back when you have more time. We can talk more.
But talking more is for the week.
What?
Talking more is for the week. You're thirsty. Come on, you're gonna deal with it. I still have my coat. You're gonna deal with it.
Upstairs and go to the house.
Instead of breathe,
This isn't the real house. Look at that. They have to be here.
I would suggest that you have a seat because I know some of you are getting tired, but you need to pick a spot and you need to stay there. Don't walk all over the place or move. All right, good afternoon.
My name is Colleen. I'm a volunteer here at Blunt Mansion, and I'm going to show you around the home of William and Mary Blunt and their 5 children. Only thing we ask is that you don't touch anything. We do not have the 17 and 1800s, so it can't be replaced. It can't even be repaired very well, so we just ask that you not touch anything. I'm going to explain a little bit about each room that we go into, and then when I'm done explaining about it, I'll ask if you have any questions. That way maybe some of what I talk about will answer your questions, but if not, I'll be happy to answer them. And we have about 20 minutes to do the whole house, so we will need to keep it moving. Now, the original house when William and Mary had it built by their slaves in 1792 was 2 rooms and a loft area upstairs. Even though it was considered a mansion, it was pretty fancy compared to the other houses in this area. This was all woods, basically. And the few houses that were in this area were 1-room log cabins with dirt floors, no windows. So as you can see, compared to that, this is pretty fancy. Where this seam runs down the floor, there was a wall originally. So these 2 windows, this interior wall, and that staircase weren't here at that time. So from the wall out to that area, out to that blue wall out there, was the room they called the hall. It was used by the family for family dining, family gatherings. Also, William and Mary's bed was located in the hall area, and their 2 daughters slept in the hall area also. Kind of weird to have your bed in your dining room and living room. No more space than they had to make use of every square inch. Then from the wall to this wall over here where the fireplace is, which was a solid wall at the time, that was the parlor, and they used their parlors for formal entertaining, for parties and dances, that type of thing. The Blunts' 3 boys slept in the loft area upstairs. We're not going to have time to go up into that area right now. There's nothing up there. It's empty, just empty space. But the walls and windows and floors look exactly like this. I mentioned that this staircase wasn't here at that time, but there was another smaller staircase located right outside the door where you came into the house. And if you look in the ceiling above in that corner, you can see where the cutout is, where that staircase actually went upstairs. So here we have a drawing of what the original property looked like at the time the Blunts lived here. For many years, we thought that room was still here on the property, but we learned in the last year during our most recent renovation that it isn't the room we thought it was. So we now know that building is been gone for many years. Of course, this is the governor's office and the cooling shed that you saw already. You'll notice in this house as you go through it, there's one really important room that you're not going to see. Any idea what that was? No.
The weapon room?
Nope.
Maybe the place where he wrote his, like, where he did his work?
No, that was the office. He did all his work in the office. It's a bathroom. There were no bathrooms, no indoor plumbing. They used outhouses, kind of like porta potties now. And so there were 2. Yeah, exactly. That's what they used. And they didn't bathe very often either. There were no bathtubs either. So there were 2 outhouses on this property as well. Now, most of our furniture is not in the house right now because we just finished the first phase of the major renovation. But we do have a few pieces back in the house. We have 2 pieces of furniture that actually belong to the Blunts. Everything else that we have dates to the period of the 17 and 1800s. So as I said, it's all very old. two pieces that we know for sure belong to the Blunts. One piece is that chair with the red cushion on it. The Blunts brought that with them in 1792 when they came in from North Carolina. That fabric on the seat has been replaced several times because you know how fabric will wear and tear. The chair is still in pretty good shape considering how old it is. The other piece of furniture is this desk, which belonged to one of the Blunt's boys. So these are the two pieces that we know for sure belong to the Blunts. Also, you'll notice on the lower part of this wall, we have left the wood off of it. That's to point out these very, very dark timbers to you. That wood is from the trees that were cleared in this area to build the house. So the house is 223 years old. Those were full-grown trees at the time. You know how long it takes to grow a tree to full-grown.
Yeah.
So that's some really, really old wood. So in order to keep moving, questions about this room or anything else you see on the property?
What happened to our old furniture?
There's a lot of furniture was kind of lost over the years. We think some of it, you know, you heard in the video that you watched that he went through. We think maybe as his kids grew up and moved on, they